your hands up. Yesterday, leaks and rumors circulated the forums and Reddits regarding 2 planes found in the Enlisted files, a Spitfire and a German twin plane. And people thought it will take a while until they get released, and some people thought they would be premium planes, though there was no reason why the next premium squad should be planes, because we just recently had premium planes in the Jet update. So yeah, it was much more likely that it's going to be an event. And I considered making yesterday evening a little spoiler video about that, but usually it makes sense to wait until Tuesday, because on Tuesday most often something new comes out, either an event or news drops. And tada, we have this event now, the Aviation Event. Now, how can you win stuff here, and what do you win? Well, you win the mentioned Spitfire, and you win the mentioned twin plane. Now, how good are these prizes? And of course, you win a Finnish machine gun, which is quite good, really good machine gun for Germany BR2. Now, the Spitfire, a fighter for BR2 with great flying characteristics and 2 20mm autocannons and 2 Browning HMGs. Overall, a good plane. Now, the only question is it worth flying it? Because you can alternatively, for BR2, get theoretically this, or if you play it before the merge, you can get the fighter version of the P-38G. Which is, I would say, better than the Spitfire, because it has similar... Actually, it has better offensive shooting power, and it has rockets. So the big problem of the Spitfire is it only has great anti-plane capabilities, but no bombs, no rockets. Yeah, you can strafe the ground with it, but unless you get some really good penetration on an enemy tank and BR2, well, BR1 tanks will be easily dead, but you really need to strafe the BR2 tanks perfectly from a good angle in order to blow them up. And you will barely get any kills on the ground. So the problem in Enlisted is there are only maximum 2 enemy planes at a time, with the occasional paratrooper and bomber raid. So if you're in a fighter plane and you can't constantly shoot and you can't be constantly occupied with shooting down enemy planes, you need to do something else, and the only thing you can do instead is just bombing the ground. But most often, also from my experience, oftentimes using planes, you will not find enough things in the sky to occupy with. So most of the time, especially after you slap down the first 2 enemy planes, usually they know, alright, it's better to stay out of the sky. And then they just focus on the ground. And if you can't blow up stuff on the ground anymore due to a lack of bombs and rockets, then you usually become a liability to your team. Yeah, sometimes you can still mitigate it somehow, but yeah, like it's the classical problem of, is a pilot in the sky useful enough relative to just playing infantry or a tank or an APC if there are not enough enemy targets to shoot down. And this plane will run exactly into this problem. So yeah, now some people said, why doesn't it just get a bomb? And because it could carry 250-pound bombs. I think 1 or maybe 2. Definitely not too much explosive power. And then be upgraded to BR3. Problem is, if you give this thing bombs, it will be too strong for BR2 because it already has insanely good anti-plane stats. And once again, still the shredding power for ground targets. But if you give it bombs, if you give it half-assed bombs and upgrade it to BR3, you literally just get a weak, bad Mustang version, because obviously nothing will be better than this Mustang on BR3. Yeah. And yeah, I'd rather have 6 HMGs than 2 HMGs and 2 20mm rockets. Yeah, so yeah, the problem is in Enlisted, it's literally not really possible to perfectly position this plane. It's basically stuck between BR2 and BR3 in terms of if it would be upgraded. So right now, yeah, I would say it's perfectly placed in BR2, and it's okay. It's okay with that. It could receive maybe 1 medium bomb, and then it would be also fine, but then it would be already ridiculously strong. But here's my argument. If the event stuff isn't at least a little bit stronger than the normal stuff, why should someone grind for it? Like the people who claim, oh, premium and event stuff should never be stronger than normal stuff, than the tech tree stuff. Yeah, wait. Why should people, like, people need to get reasons to be excited about grinding stuff. If there's nothing special about it, then yeah. And the thing is, I made a video last year about how to intelligently create premium content without power creep by adding multiple X's of the or simply said, by just adding creative advantages and not just stronger power levels. And this is perfect for infantry squads because you can always let them do engineer stuff and so on. But with planes, here's the problem. You can't do much creative things with planes. And yeah, and this plane is literally stuck in the situation. But yeah, it's okay. I would say it's okay. And let's put it this way. For everyone who doesn't have the pre-merge squad, this is actually a good plane. So my verdict, it's a complicated case. That's why we had to invest a few minutes into it. It's overall a good plane. Now the actual loser of the event, ironically enough, the much stronger Z1 plane. Now why is this not that good? Well, first regarding the history, for those wondering why does it look so strange, this is a twin plane. Similar, well, there are similar planes, and we just talked about one of these. If you look at the American P-38G, you see also a twin engine plane. Why twin engine? Well, it's one main plane or fuselage with two engines and two wings and a twin tail. Now, what is the advantage of the structure? Well, if you have two engines, you get more power. You also can carry more fuel, and the relative air resistance is quite small. So this type of setup is perfect for long-range operations. You could use these planes perfectly starting in Britain, fly over to Germany and back without many issues, without the pilot having to sweat, constantly calculating whether he's got enough fuel for a 5-minute maneuver. So yeah, these types of planes are in the Pacific for long-range operations, absolutely perfect planes. Main downside is they're not good at dogfighting unless you always detect the enemy plane first, because you get easily outturned. So yeah, these are the main advantages of these planes. There's one downside though. It's quite complicated to design one because you cannot just copy paste the aerodynamic data from other planes because you have a completely different structure. Now, what Germany did, when Germany was constantly bombed and needed some strong shredding power against those bombers, Germany came up with the idea of destroyer planes. Now you can look at them on BF4 and BF5. If you, for example, look at the Messerschmitt 410, this is, well, it's also a twin engine plane, though it has one tail, but it's a similar design philosophy. But you can make it even stronger by just literally fusing two plates together. And this is exactly what this event depicts. You have your BF109. You can see these are basically two standard BF109s glued together. And nope, it's not flown by two pilots. The left seat is where the pilot is sitting, and the right one is just blocked out. There's nothing in the right one. So no, you don't need two pilots or something like that. Just one pilot who's sitting here. And yes, you get additional firepower, you get additional fuel, you get additional engine power, and so on. And also you save up on design and testing time, because the basic BF101 is already perfectly tested. And the structure, data, everything is there. The cannons, everything is already there. Literally all you need to do is just see whether it actually works if you combine them and do a little bit of testing. So this is basically a rushed version of if you want to build a plane like a twin engine plane. What if you just combine two planes into a twin plane? So yeah, this is the reason why you had these abominations flying around. Though instead of building that, since it's overall quite inefficient, because you literally need to have two engines and two basic planes, it's overall, if you have the development time, better of course to just design a completely new, bigger and stronger plane. Which is, for example, why the Messerschmitt 262 exists, because this plane, and this is relevant now for the event, has basically the same firepower. It has 4 30mm cannons, which are perfect to, in real life, shoot down bomber formations. And in Enlisted to, ironically enough, it's not that good against bomber, it's also good, but other planes are actually better. but it's good to strafe the ground. I found one real advantage of 30mm cannons, and it's if you shoot at enemy paratrooper planes, they instantly explode instead of having like a millisecond time to release the crew, the paratroopers. So yeah, like the 30mm are really good for shredding enemy paratrooper planes because the release isn't triggered. But besides that, yeah, but they're good for ground strafing. If you strafe stuff on the ground, everything dies. So, but yeah, of course, it's also okay if you're close enough to the enemy planes to strafe them. For those wondering why isn't a 30mm better against enemy planes than a small caliber, well, because 30mm are extremely heavy and extremely slow, and their projectile traveling arc is horribly bad. You will miss all of your shots unless you're very close. And if you're very close, enemy pilot might have detected you and start doing maneuvers, and then you can't, well, follow him because he easily outturns you. So this is the issue. It works against slow, big bomber formations, but against agile fighters it doesn't work. And this is the problem. This plane will be fast enough, but for BR5, not fast enough. It is okay fast for BR3 and for BR4, but not for BR5. I don't have the clear data, but I know it's definitely slower than, and definitely it's going to turn like a brick, and it's definitely slower than a Messerschmitt jet, which it directly competes with because for some reason it got turned into a fighter instead of an attacker plane. And overall I suspect it will be worse than this plane, because this plane, despite having less shredding power, absolute perfect enemy plane killer, absolutely perfect fighter plane, and it looks very sexy. Whereas the Z1, not even close. Not even close in terms of performance against enemy planes. So yeah, it's basically an attacker plane in the fighter slot. The opposite of what Germany needs, because it already has two great fighter planes, the Messerschmitt and the Bf 109. So you would rather have this as an attacker, because actually having more attacker options for Germany BF5 would be good. That's not the case. So the 4 30mm cannons are theoretically good, but only if they come with a lot of ammunition. Because yeah, they have the 250 kilogram bomb, but once again, I'd rather use the Messerschmitt with a 500 kilogram bomb. So yeah, and yeah, we have here 360 shots. Here's the truth. If this were 400, it would be actually a significant increase, because if you get very, very sensitive about flying this plane, you will be able to feel when you run out of ammo after a while. And what you will notice is that if you had a little bit of more ammo, you could easily shoot down one plane and a whole bomber formation, or even two planes and a whole bomber formation if you get them from a perfect angle. With this amount of ammo, oftentimes you struggle to kill even one plane and then shoot down two bombers. So, or even if you want to strafe the ground effectively. So yeah, because you basically always lose the first 100 rounds if you shoot at an enemy plane, due to having to lead it properly to actually start hitting them. So yeah, like the biggest plus and the only way I can see this Z1 being effective is if it gets a big amount of ammo. Theoretically, there would be enough space in the wing system, in the wings, to contain multiple, to contain maybe 500 rounds. If that was the case, yeah, then you would also have lots of fun using this, because you can just constantly non-stop strafe the ground and blow everything up, which also looks cool due to all of those mini explosions. But the way it is right now, this plane is sadly severely underpowered. It's basically a BR4 plane that's stuck into BR5. Yeah, so yeah, and multiple people wrote it. I also wrote already in the forum, this plane needs to be downranked to BR4. Some people said to BR3, yeah, this doesn't make sense, because 4 30mm cannons and a heavy bomb is definitely way above BR3 power level. Especially since there are many BR3 planes that would even blow up from the 30mm cannons. And if you get downranked to BR2, then everything is completely ridiculous. Now the down ranking is not an argument, because by the same token you need to also consider up ranking. Yeah, but no, but in BR3 it would be too strong, but for BR4 it would be okay. Yeah, right. The way it is right now, it's too weak, and it's unplayable due to significantly better alternatives, and the whole event quality suffers because, like, this is just not a price that you actually will want to grind for. And the Spitfire, yeah, for new players might be cool, and for history lovers, Spitfire legendary plane, yeah, it also might be cool. By the way, they were better Spitfires. I'd rather have a late war Spitfire, a stronger Spitfire than this to play. And yeah, now literally the only really exciting prize of this event is the Lati Solo, I can't pronounce, yeah, Lati whatever, the Finnish machine gun. But there's only one of these. Why the hell is there only one? Like, why? I remember there used to be always 2, sometimes even 3 special guns. But now it's only 1. Like, this is ridiculous. This definitely needs to be 2 or 3. I mean, it's okay if it's 2, because then you just play an event like this twice, and then you get 4 of these. This is exactly what you usually want. But only 1 is ridiculously stingy. So, yeah, overall, this event isn't too good. And here's the problem. We've seen a significant decline of event quality over the course of this year. And I even personally didn't bother playing the recent events. And I also didn't get the Tiger for the Japanese, even though I like playing Japanese, and the Tiger is really good. But I'd literally just rather wait for the loot boxes at the end of the year, likely November or December the latest. And yeah, instead of just wasting time grinding the bullshit event. And I didn't really bother with the MP40s. And with this event, I also think I won't bother because, well, okay, here's the advantage. Everyone will likely get these prizes. This is the big improvement. It's the classic 20,000 point system in normal games. So you don't have to play this brain dead made up Soviets versus Japanese event with this ridiculously imbalanced by some stupid Gaijin intern, also known as long-hair Gaijin employee who doesn't play the game. Design squads. No, you just play normal games and you will get your 20,000 experience every 2 days. So yeah, this is the good classical tournament structure. So basically everyone of you will get these get these prizes. But yeah, the prizes could be a bit better. Like, now if I know that sadly Gaijin never improves the prizes or never updates them. I remember they did that once 1 year ago when an event was so ridiculously bad they had to give everyone 1 gold token. Yeah, because the whole player base started rampaging and mutinying because the prizes were ridiculously bad. But well, here, yeah, I mean, if Gaijin is smart, they would give everyone who finishes it 1 Lativari for free. And what Gaijin definitely needs to do is downrank the Z1 to BR4. And then we actually get a playable German plane, because which fighter would you play as a German on BR4? Well, the Italian fighter plane. You see how ridiculously, yeah, the Fiat. Yep, this is a good one, though this new German plane it just has much more firepower. It's worse against fighters, and worse against other planes, because this one is ridiculously good against other planes. But the Z1 has just much more shredding power. Now, here's the optimal improvement for the end. Optimally, this plane would be turned into an attacker plane. I know in real life it was meant as a destroyer plane, meaning shredding bomber formations. But this is literally not needed in Enlisted, because you can shred. I had more success shredding 5 bombers with a BR2 Stuka than with some BR5 planes. So in Enlisted, the whole concept of having to defend against bomber raids is not existent. Yeah, if there were 20 plane bomber raids, okay. If we had different ammunition, if we had proximity fuse and so on, or time fuses, okay. But with the way Enlisted is designed, you literally don't need specific bomber shredder planes. In that case, you completely can forget about the German World War II concept of destroyer planes, and instead just turn them all into attacker planes. Like, if this was an attacker plane, it would make more sense. There's a problem, though, with the ancient Neanderthal spaghetti code that Enlisted is using. You literally cannot change the designation of a fighter to an attacker. Yeah, this sounds like a simple step, but it's literally not possible, at least not for Gaijin coders. So we're basically stuck with those dump-ass monkey booty definitions and designations. So yeah, this will be a fighter, but long story short, this needs to be turned into be a 4-plane, and then people actually will be happy about grinding this event for 20 days to get until the last stage. Now, to much better, funnier news, the Battle Pass soon, actually today, I will unlock this the Japanese booty launcher, and I can't wait tomorrow on the live stream to show you lots of Americans exploding from this funny thing. Yep, I can't wait. So stay tuned. Tomorrow is gonna be a nice BR3 experience with Japanese and also Germans thrown in. The Germans stuck live. I'm also gonna do some stuck games where I'm just gonna put 2 stacks in my tanks for BR3 and constantly stuck around. Alright, let me know what you think and what your opinion is on this event and in general Enlisted developments and other topics. Drop it in the comments, and of course like the video and subscribe if you're new, because there's gonna be lots of interesting stuff, not just Enlisted, in the coming weeks and months. Until soon, goodbye.